"You talk too much for a woman," he shouted, then suddenly slapped her across the face in the crowded train car. She fell back, hand on her cheek, eyes welling with tears. Nobody intervened, but before the train reached its final stop, she received a call, and just 30 minutes later, a man in black military uniform stepped aboard. He didn't need to ask questions. He simply looked directly at the bully and gave a command that silenced the entire car. If you believe strong people never use their hands to prove power, but use dignity instead, type respect in the comments. Lisa Kim, 31, worked at a biomedical research center, married to Ethan Cole, 38, a commander in the U.S. Special Forces. Lisa chose to live quietly, never flaunting who her husband was, despite his reputation in military circles. On the federal train from Seattle to Portland, Lisa sat in a window seat, reading a book. A male passenger, around 40, named Derek, entered the car, eyes darting around for a seat, clearly intoxicated and irritable. The train was packed, and Lisa politely offered the seat beside her. But just minutes later, Derek began mumbling, nudging Lisa, trying to start a conversation. She declined gently. "I'm married." Derek sneered. "Where's your husband? If he's not here, I have the right to talk to you." Lisa tried to remain silent, but he became increasingly aggressive, using vulgar language, his hand starting to touch her coat pocket. When she responded softly, "Stop," he stood up and suddenly slapped her hard across the face. "You don't have the right to say no to me," Derek shouted. The entire train car froze, but then no one dared to stand up. Lisa sat still, hand on her cheek, face burning with shame and pain. He sat back down, triumphant, pouring himself a drink. She pulled out her phone, not calling the police. She sent a single message. "Ethan, I've been assaulted. On the Portland train, train number 712. No one is helping." Derek continued sitting arrogantly, boasting to other passengers. An elderly passenger muttered, "That's going too far," but then turned away, avoiding trouble. A train attendant came to check tickets. Lisa timidly whispered, "I was assaulted." The attendant hesitated. "I'll report it to the supervisor, but we're mid-route." "We don't intervene in altercations." Lisa nodded, silent, but her hand gripped tighter, because she knew Ethan would read her message. She looked at her watch. 42 minutes until the train reached the station. She took a deep breath, wiped her cheek with a tissue, then sat upright, her gaze calm. Derek smirked. "Pretending to be tough. Women are all the same." No one knew. 15 minutes later, Ethan received the message. He was training at Joint Base Lewis McChord, only 25 minutes from the station by military SUV. Ethan didn't text back. No need to ask his wife anything. He simply told his duty team, "I need to move immediately. My wife is being harmed." 4 soldiers instantly accompanied him, carrying no weapons, just badges, military IDs, and the special administrative uniforms of the Special Forces. They drove directly to Portland Station, waiting for the train's scheduled arrival. Meanwhile, on the train, Lisa remained strangely calm. The glances around her became increasingly uneasy. They realized this woman wasn't as weak as they thought. Derek continued sitting arrogantly, boasting to other passengers. An elderly passenger muttered, "That's going too far," but then turned away, avoiding trouble. A train attendant came to check tickets. Lisa timidly whispered, "I was assaulted." The attendant hesitated. "I'll report it to the supervisor, but we're mid-route." "We don't intervene in altercations." Lisa nodded, silent, but her hand gripped tighter, because she knew Ethan would read her message. She looked at her watch. 42 minutes until the train reached the station. She took a deep breath, wiped her cheek with a tissue, then sat upright, her gaze calm. Derek smirked. "Pretending to be tough. Women are all the same." No one knew. 15 minutes later, Ethan received the message. He was training at Joint Base Lewis McChord, only 25 minutes from the station by military SUV. Ethan didn't text back. No need to ask his wife anything. He simply told his duty team, "I need to move immediately. My wife is being harmed." 4 soldiers instantly accompanied him, carrying no weapons, just badges, military IDs, and the special administrative uniforms of the Special Forces. They drove directly to Portland Station, waiting for the train's scheduled arrival. Meanwhile, on the train, Lisa remained strangely calm. The glances around her became increasingly uneasy. They realized this woman wasn't as weak as they thought. The train rocked gently as it continued its journey. Lisa stared out the window, her reflection showing a reddened cheek but remarkably composed eyes. Derek had moved to chat with some younger passengers, occasionally glancing back at Lisa with a smug expression. He was telling exaggerated stories about his business ventures, portraying himself as a man of importance. A mother with 2 children sat across the aisle, occasionally making eye contact with Lisa, her expression apologetic but fearful. She pulled her children closer, teaching them a silent lesson about not getting involved. In the next car, the train attendant spoke quietly with his supervisor over the radio. Yes, there was an incident. No visible injuries. She seems okay now. Yes, we'll file a report at the station. Lisa checked her phone. No response from Ethan, but she didn't expect one. In their years together, she had learned that he communicated through actions, not words. When it mattered, he appeared. That was enough. A college student sitting nearby finally gathered courage to offer Lisa a bottle of water. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Lisa accepted with a small nod. "I will be," she said softly. The student wanted to say more, but noticed Derek watching them. She retreated to her seat, ashamed of her own fear. As the train approached the outskirts of Portland, passengers began gathering their belongings. The atmosphere lightened with the anticipation of arrival, the incident already fading from their collective concern, becoming just another uncomfortable urban story to maybe tell friends later. Derek stood, stretching dramatically. "Finally," he announced to no one in particular. "Worst train ride ever." A businessman in a suit muttered, "Not because of you, of course," but his voice was too low for Derek to hear. Lisa remained seated, her bag ready on her lap, her posture now straighter than before. Something in the set of her shoulders had changed. Not tension, but certainty. The train began to slow as it approached Portland Station. Through the windows, the platform came into view, and with it, the unmistakable sight of 5 men in black military uniforms standing in formation, perfectly still amid the bustle of civilian travelers. This is when I felt a lump in my throat. Not because she was slapped, but because of how she didn't beg. Just sat there, trusting in someone. If you believe silence is sometimes stronger than shouting, type strength in the comments. The train arrived at Portland Station. Passengers gradually gathered their belongings, preparing to disembark. Derek remained seated, his posture arrogant. "Hope you remember today's lesson," he whispered into Lisa's ear. But when the train doors opened, Ethan stepped aboard. Black military uniform, Special Forces insignia, piercing gaze. Behind him stood 4 fellow soldiers. Lisa stood up, saying nothing. Just walked toward Ethan. He gently embraced her shoulders, looking at her face. "Are you okay?" Lisa nodded. Ethan turned to Derek. "Are you the man who assaulted my wife?" His voice wasn't raised, but the entire car seemed to grow colder. Derek stammered, I didn't know she was..." One of the soldiers stepped forward, displaying his military ID. "This is the family of a special command officer. Any assault is considered under the Military Family Protection Act, Section 234-2. Derek began to tremble. Ethan didn't touch him. He only said one sentence. "Someone like you, in a battlefield, wouldn't survive a single day, because cowards only strike those who don't fight back." Ethan turned away, not waiting for a response. But then, an elderly man in the car stood up, saying loudly, "I saw what happened. I'll be a witness." Then another young woman. "Me too." I was silent then, but now I'm ashamed. One by one, they stood up, clearly describing Derek's behavior. Station police appeared, and this time Derek wasn't smiling. Lisa stepped off with Ethan. They didn't look back, but the crowd on the train quietly applauded as they left. The soldiers formed a protective formation around Lisa and Ethan as they moved through the station. No words were exchanged. Their synchronized movements spoke of years of working together, of trust forged in situations far more dangerous than this. Derek was escorted off the train by 2 police officers. His earlier bravado entirely evaporated. Several passengers voluntarily approached the officers, offering their contact information as witnesses. The elderly man who had spoken up first approached one of Ethan's team members. "I served in Vietnam," he said quietly. "I should have done something sooner." The soldier nodded respectfully. "You did something when it counted, sir." News reporters had somehow already gathered at the station, cameras ready. One rushed forward, microphone extended. "Commander Cole, can you comment on the incident?" Ethan simply shook his head, keeping Lisa close as they moved toward the exit. His focus remained entirely on his wife, not on the developing spectacle. The train attendant hurried after them, apologizing profusely. "Sir, ma'am, I'm so sorry about what happened. The company will want to file the proper reports," Ethan interrupted calmly. "That's all we ask." Outside the station, a black SUV waited with a driver. The 4 soldiers took positions as Ethan helped Lisa into the vehicle. Before joining her, he turned to his team. "Thank you, gentlemen." They saluted sharply. No words necessary. Inside the vehicle, Lisa finally allowed herself to lean against Ethan's shoulder. "You didn't have to bring everyone," she whispered. "They insisted," he replied simply. "Would have been a full platoon if I'd let them." For the first time since the assault, Lisa smiled slightly. "The Military Family Protection Act?" "Sergeant Miller improvised that part," Ethan admitted, "but the message was accurate." As the SUV pulled away, Lisa looked back at the station where a small crowd had gathered, some pointing at their vehicle, others already typing on phones. She knew their private moment would soon become public discourse. "Are you ready for what comes next?" Ethan asked, knowing how she valued their privacy. Lisa touched her cheek, still slightly red from the assault. "Yes," she said firmly. Some silences shouldn't be kept. Lisa refused to give interviews. She only posted a single message on social media. "I don't need my husband to be a hero. I just need someone who keeps his promise to always show up when I need him." Ethan didn't speak to the press, didn't sue, but a video recorded by a passenger spread nationwide, with over 12 million views within 2 days. The hashtags #RealManDoesNotNeedToHit and #Silent Support is Loudest became trending topics. Derek was fired from his company, investigated for assaulting a woman. A year later, Lisa appeared at a TEDx talk. "I didn't need people to help me that day, but I hope, next time, they won't be silent." Ethan sat in the audience, still wearing a simple shirt, but his eyes glistened as he listened to her speak. Justice doesn't come with a punch. It comes when right people stand together and don't turn away. Subscribe to TT Hero Stories if you believe honor and well-timed silence can change the entire world. TT Hero Stories, because some heroes never stop serving.